Hey everyone, it's Andy with Reverb. If you've ever searched for a guitar with some acoustic properties built in, chances are you've come across the terms hollow body, semi-hollow, and even chambered. Now, these construction methods have been around since the 1950s when talking about electric guitars. And it's still very easy to get them confused, especially when manufacturers have their own idea on what these methods entail. So let's just go over the big three, and hopefully that'll help you in your search for a guitar with a little bit more acoustic resonance. Let's start with the full hollow body, since that's the one that came first. Now these share a lot in common with the standard acoustic guitar, but instead of a single sound hole, they moved it to F-holes, which borrows from the violin, of course. Now the goal of these, especially in the 30s when D'Angelico was making jazz archtop guitars, there wasn't any pickup or amplification, so you really needed to project. And the F-hole is a great design from the 16th century, which gets a lot of volume out, especially when playing with the big band. Like an acoustic, the bridge is not screwed on and the tailpiece is floating and screwed on into a support block inside. By the 50s, archtops were taking full advantage of guitar amplification, but since there's not a lot of meat to mount a pickup on the top, a floating pickup was attached to the pick guard, and all the pots and controls are cleverly wired so they don't get in the way of the player. Famous examples of electric archtops, or electric Spanish guitars as they were called, are the Gibson L5 CES, Super 400, as well as finely crafted instruments from D'Angelico and D'Acquisto. The main benefit of a full hollow body electric guitar is that, of course, you could play it like any acoustic and not even plug it in, which is basically like these jazz guitars from the 30s without the pickup. Now, the cool thing is that you could kind of mix those sounds together. You could mic it up and plug it into an amp and get a little bit more acoustic resonance. But the age-old issue of a full hollow body, of course, is feedback. Gretsch shared similar construction methods, but in the interest of eliminating feedback, more rigid bracing was used with a laminate body construction, which is also very durable and less prone to cracking from changes in weather. Models like the Gretsch 6120 and White Falcon do use trestle bracing, which helps eliminate feedback, but are considered hollow body guitars. The next method really helps to eliminate that feedback issue, or at least tame it, and that's semi-hollow guitars. Now, probably the most famous is the Gibson ES335. ES models, like the 335, start with a much thinner body and use a solid maple block down the middle for the pickups and bridge to mount onto. A laminate top, back, and rims are ideal for these guitars, since it offers durability and less resonance, which helps these guitars excel in blues and rock genres with much less feedback at high volumes. It's not just garden variety plywood either. Gibson used 3 plies of maple and poplar. But on less expensive semi-hollow guitars, the laminate material is definitely something you want to look into, especially if you don't want to deal with separation of the layers later on. Gretsch and Epiphone use similar center block semi-hollow construction, such as the 5655 from Gretsch's affordable Electromatic series and the Epiphone Sheraton 2. Another method of making a semi-hollow guitar that strays into chambered territory is Rickenbacker's 330 and 360 models. The idea is to route out the inner portion of a maple slab, which will end up being the top and sides. Older 60s models used X bracing inside to support the top, while newer models route the bracing into the body. Now this Reverend Club King 290 is built a completely different way, but it still is a semi-hollow guitar. It starts with a single slab of carina, which makes up the back and the sides, and then it's capped with a solid piece, not a laminate, of spruce, and that's only routed with one F-hole. So you're getting a lot of bracing for your pickups and your bridge, but you only have one F-hole, and that really helps the feedback issue. But if you listen to it when you tap, it's definitely projecting some sound. So that means, just like my finger is tapping that sound, the strings are going to amplify it as well. And that's definitely going to translate into the pickups and to the overall tone of this guitar. The Tele Thin Line shares a similar construction method, with chambers routed out in the body to hollow it out and to give it more of an airy sound, while the top is glued on with a single F-hole. So if you're looking for a telly with a bit more jangle, you might want to look into this model. And some guitars go through the whole process of making a semi-hollow guitar while leaving off the F-holes completely. This is seen in B.B. King's Lucille model starting in 1980, a variant of the ES355. Finally, let's look at chambered guitars. This technology has been around since the 50s, with many examples from Gretsch's Jet series. Technically, these are solid body guitars that start out with a solid slab of mahogany and routed inside to form sound chambers to reduce weight and make the body very lively and resonant. Here's an example of a chamber guitar, which I had custom made from Gray Guitars in London, and it's using, pretty common tone woods, mahogany body and a maple top. But to help with the weight and also just to add sort of a sound that's reminiscent of a 335, he put some pretty big chambers in here, and you can see from the pics that he sent me. So not only does this help with the weight relief, it does sort of add an airy quality to the tone, and you can hear those chambers just like tapping on that Reverend. And this definitely translates into the pickups, just like everything. It's the sum of the parts. It really changes the tone. Chambering can also be used purely to reduce the weight of a guitar. Companies like Warmoth offer Strat and Telly bodies that have 25% less weight but maintain their tonal characteristics. Gibson has also been known to apply weight relief methods since the 80s to make their Les Pauls lighter. A series of carefully calculated holes are drilled into the body, which claim to keep the balance and tone of the instrument intact without inducing feedback. Well, there's your look at hollow body, semi-hollow, and chamber guitars. Some really cool methods that definitely affect the tone, whether they have an F-hole routed out or not. Be sure to leave some comments below on your favorite type of non-solid body guitar, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.